It's amazing, isn't it, that the number of how-to questions these days that are floating around everywhere. People online, people on YouTube, people on other platforms are constantly asking these questions: how to do this and how to do that and how to do this and how to be wonderful and how to be happy and how to create this and how to create this in my life. And it just struck me yesterday while I was thinking about all this that how to is such a lousy question. And it's a lousy question because it eliminates completely and totally the possibility of self-discovery, of creativity, of intelligence. The moment you have asked a question on how to do this, what have we created? There is an assumption behind asking this question that there is somebody out there who knows more about this than you do, and it's absolutely imitable, it's absolutely replicable, and you will get the exact same results that other person has gotten in his or her life. While it may be true for certain cases, of course you need to answer this question, or you need to ask this question if there is a technicality involved, or if there is a technical expert out there, you're unwell and you need to go seek a specialist opinion or something like that. Accept it. But the number of areas in our life that we have started applying this to is absolutely insane. Let me give you an example. I received a request about a week ago, or about 10 days ago, with someone asking me for one of the copies of my books. Now, I'd written about 6 or 7 books in my lifetime, and about 10 years ago or about 8 years ago, I'd written a book on breakthroughs. Now, this very highly influential person belonging to the government made this request through a common friend: can I get a copy of your book? And I started to think. I didn't have a copy on me because I have stopped believing in the stuff I wrote 10 years ago, but unfortunately there are people who are still seeking it out. So I wondered what this person might actually be asking for. He has come to a point in his life, he or she has come to a point in his life where they realize that they are probably not in the ideal place. They're feeling unhappy, or you're feeling miserable or frustrated or angry or irritable, or something is not right in your being, and as a result you're seeking a solution. Now, you're not addressing the real problem, but you're seeking a solution. Maybe, oh, let me speak to Chetan. He's written a book on breakthroughs, and maybe if I can copy a system, I will get this in my life, and I will get rid of all my anger and frustration and violence and greed and selfishness, and I will be on a path to a breakthrough. So, there, bravo, here's your book, and you read it, and you go and you implement certain things, and sure enough, you will find some success in implementing a different system. Now, you will implement a different system, and within no time, you will realize that you still have all the irritation and all the anger and all the misery and all the frustration in your life, maybe just with a better bank balance. What good was it to you? Absolutely nothing, absolutely worthless. You see, the moment we create this authority, the moment we ask this question on how to do something, we've created this higher authority who has an answer to our questions. The moment we create higher authorities, what happens? Let's find out. Why am I pointing you out to this? Let's really find out the reason. All of us were born and brought up, and we were given this certain concept of what is religion and what is God. And I'm taking a universal example to help you understand this. Now, this wasn't our concept, but it was given to us, and this is a higher authority, and this is the way of following this path, X, Y, and Z. So all of us start following our path. Someone follows one path, another person follows another one, the third one follows another one, and so on and so forth. And everyone very blindly follows a certain path of self-realization or religion or finding God, and everyone believes their path to be true because it's guided by certain higher authority of tradition of society of thousands of years of practice, and we end up creating this monstrous authority. What does this authority create in you as a person? This authority, invariably, any authority creates fear. That if I don't do as this person or this authority is saying, there are consequences. So we create fear, and based on those fear, there are divisions. And as a result of divisions, what do these divisions eventually lead to? We have to guard our system, you have to guard your system, he has to guard his system. This division eventually will lead to this violence. And that's the nature of authority. The moment you have created authority, it will have an end result in violence. Now, we don't need to look at this big religious question of existentialism, or we don't need to look at this as a world at large. Look at it for any small question in your life. We all have certain belief systems in our life, right? You probably have your own beliefs as to how life should be led. There are people who are around you who have their own belief systems on how life should be led. You have yours, your spouse has theirs, your colleagues have theirs, your boss has his, your subordinates have his. And what happens when two contradictory beliefs come face to face? It's inevitable, they will come face to face. In a very existential way in your everyday life, even that leads to violence. There is a slamming of door, or there is anger, or there is a firing of a subordinate, there is leaving of a company. There is violence all around us because there is authority all around us, and there is authority all around us because we basically existentially ask the question, how to do this? I think this question is an absolutely self-defeatist one to the objectives of life. And there is a reason why we seek the comfort of this question. A child is born, all of us are born, and we make certain mistakes, right? When you were a little child, you might drop something, you might do something that's not acceptable. And how do parents or how does society deal with it? There is anger, there is correction, there is punishment, there is fear instilled in us. And this child is constantly brought up psychologically wounded. I made a mistake and there is a punishment. I made a mistake, my mom threatened to walk out on me. I made a mistake, my teacher punished me and stood me out in front of the class. I made a mistake, there was shame. And these psychological wounds lead us to lead a life which is not any mistake. And what do we do to prevent this mistake? We go and ask someone, oh, tell me, show me how to do it so that I can live a life of no mistakes. And we end up accepting authority as a very way of being right from the moment the child first learned how not to make a mistake. And that's what leads us here, where we are as human beings, where everything that we know today has been fed into us. It's like a second-hand life. It's like a life of a slave where you have absolutely nothing original left in you because you have trained your mind to be absolutely dull, lazy and boring. Do you see the truth in it? Just ask yourself one simple question and really seek to answer it today. Is there any insight that you have today which you can call your own, which is not based on any knowledge or any book or any interaction that you've had on another person? Answer it. Is there any one insight about life that you have which is not dependent on anyone else in this world? You will not be able to come up with it. And the reason is because you've never ever led a life, or your mind has never led a life of total freedom. It's always been dependent, reliant. It's a slave, a second-hand human being. I hear counter arguments to this. People tell me, Chetan, why are you saying that this is a lousy question? Because there are people who should be able to help me. There are people who've been through the path. No one has been through the path. Everyone has relied on second-hand information for centuries and centuries that's been passed on to you, that's been passed on to me. No one's really sat down and discovered all of this. It's just plain tradition or society or upbringing or conditioning, and no one's really come to the existential questions. We ask people how to be happy. I ask you, what is happiness? And I can challenge you and I can guarantee you, you will not be able to answer a simple question, what is happiness? Because you have not thought about it. I can challenge you and answer, you will not be able to answer a question, what is God? Because you haven't thought about it. You will not be able to answer a question, what is religion? Not that you will not be able to answer the question, you will be able to repeat what others have told you, but there is no answer because you haven't really thought about it. You haven't really realized the truth of it. All that you have done is built thoughts and memories and images around it, but there is no answer. Because there is no answer that is yours, because it's an answer that's been given to us by conditioning, by society, by the world, and as a result there is all this unhappiness and misery and violence and wars and whatnot in this world. The reason being that we have absolutely emulated a system, we have absolutely emulated authority, and we have just gone on practicing it by asking mindless how-to questions. We ask questions like how to find God, oh, here it is. Oh, how to meditate, here it is. How to be spiritual, here it is. How to be happy, here it is. And we blindly follow it thinking that there is someone who knows more about it. Now, I've got a revelation for you. There is no one who knows anything about it. I see people spending hours and hours with certain gurus and these bearded people and these spiritual leaders thinking that they're learning how to meditate. And when you question them and when you meet with them, and I've met people of both sides, the people who teach how to meditate and the people who are actually meditating, and let me tell you, the people who are actually meditating are visualizing certain end results of peace, of bliss. That's not meditation. That's not spirituality. And don't take it because I am telling you, go find out the truth. But how will you find out? The only way to find out is to stop accepting authority, is to stop accepting anyone telling you how to do anything, is to go find it out for yourself. And the only way to find it out for yourself is to, in the first place, stop asking this question, how to do it. Maybe a far better question to ask is, what prevents me from finding out the truth? You seek a question, how to be happy. I am saying, ask the question, what prevents happiness? And then you will be faced with the fundamental questions of what is happiness and how will you find out? Well, that's the question, isn't it? You got to put all that you know from your books, all that you know from your authorities, from your leaders, you got to put it all aside and come back to the basic question on what is it? People throw technological jargons, right? That, oh, but for technological stuff or for fundamental questions, someone already knows. Why do I have to reinvent the wheel? No one knows. You see, even when the Wright brothers would be building the aircraft for the first time, they had to put everything that anyone knew about making an engine aside to be able to make one. If someone was making a phone for the first time, they had to put everything aside as to what's been done before to be able to make one. You can read countless numbers of books on Steve Jobs, on Wright brothers, on Thomas Edison, on Bill Gates, on Mahatma Gandhi. It's not going to make you one. The reason is because there is no how-to system. You might starting to act like them, but that doesn't make you that person. That doesn't give you those insights. That doesn't give you that contentment, if even they had that in their life. We have just become second-grade, second-handed human beings, a slave to all the past authority, a slave to all the past tradition, with absolutely nothing original. And now we come and we spend years living like this, and we come to a stage where our minds are so dull and lazy and boring that we are even incapable of creating anything original. And we still rely on those fundamental questions. Oh, please show me how to, and show me how to do this, and show me how to do that. It doesn't lead anywhere. A far better question is to ask yourself fundamentally in silence, what is preventing me from finding out the truth? Why do I have to rely on second-hand information? What is preventing me from finding out the truth? Can I begin to question and challenge every damn thing that I know? Because what I know is based on someone else's thought and knowledge. And what is based on someone else's thought and knowledge is also second-hand, because they've just learnt it from some book or some person or some scripture or something. It's bullshit. Because it might not be the truth. Because if it were the truth, and if it were the right path, in thousands of years in the world that we have spent today, we would not be dealing with the same problems that we were dealing 1,000 years ago. We're still dealing with violence, we're still dealing with droughts, we're still dealing with famine, we're still dealing with poverty, we're still dealing with obesity. They all coexist together. It's so stupid. It's so evident that we haven't solved any problem. And the reason we haven't solved any problem is because we haven't got any new solution. The reason we don't have any new solution is because we're all slaves to old information. Our blind following of systems, rituals, traditions, authority, knowledge, books, and everything else has only led us to a path of division and destruction. To be able to stop all that, and I'm not talking about stopping all that externally, to be able to stop all that internally, the fundamental question that we need to ask ourselves is not how to stop it. The fundamental question that we need to ask ourselves is what prevents me, or what prevents in me, to be able to figure out the truth. And when we are able to ask that question, we have no option but to blindly discard all knowledge and authority that exists, and then and only then can we be looking transparently to see the truth. And when we can actually see the truth and remove these barriers, we may actually be able to find the truth, which is the beauty, which is the God, which is life. Why don't you go try it out? Quit this business of how to. Why don't you go try it out and see if this makes sense? And don't do it because I am saying it. I'm not a system. Do it to find out the truth for yourself, to go live.